Hello, everyone, again. Looks like we've got a pretty good crowd. There's some people still coming in. I think we're okay to start as we promised. So I'm Major. I'll be the moderator and the technology expert. Also the CCO of G3S, based in UAE. With me, I'll have Satyapal Singh, CEO of G3S, and Sriram, IoT Smart City Expert. So we'll be panel of three. We'll get Satyapal to start in just a minute. There's still people walking in to the webinar. Satya, if you're okay, we can go
Okay,
ahead and start.
great. Can you hear me? Just can you confirm,
Yeah,
AJ?
we can hear you
Okay,
perfectly fine, and we
great.
can see the slides. Yeah.
Great, thanks, AJ. And once again, good morning, afternoon, evening with respect to the time zones. And thanks a lot for my dear colleagues, friends, and ladies and gentlemen for joining this important topic that define our quality of life, speed of life, comfort of life, longevity of our life, and not what least, but efficient utilization of the resources for our life and ensuring that we leave a better world for the future generations. So that's where, like, okay, IoT for sustainable smart cities come, and I'll just take through in the brief introductions in terms of like a company that okay why this topic comes from a company like from us, like we are built upon the foundation of the sustainability and climate tech and have been working for the past over a decade, and it started from the Mustard City, which is one of the first sustainable city in the regions, and that was the our experimental place to see that okay how the sustainability work from the planning point of view, from the energy generation at the source, and then having a better connectivity within the society, within the community, or you can say society, and also having a mixed use development where most of the needs can be fulfilled within the community, let's say, and that we do see day to day basis. And uh, that has been a very good journey to understand that really is it a good examples for our future to live a better life, and these are some of our case study in background to see that how typically a sustainable smart city should be working. And we have the clientele of over 250 plus, and currently we operate in the North America, Europe, MENA, and APAC regions, and we have a footprint over 5 plus countries and completed 750 plus projects. Um uh, Myself and along with me, my colleague, Mr. Chalamuraj, who is the CTO and co-founder. And in this today's discussion, my colleague AJ Nadeem, he is the CCO and board members. He is also in this today's discussion. And Sriram, who is our CFO and strategy advisor. But right from the beginning, when we established our organization, he has been the key instrumental to give the guidance that how it typically the sustainable and climate tech domain should work. So I come from the environmental sustainability background, working for over 15 plus years of experience from the government body, the private, and then for the banks, insurance, from almost every energy sectors, also whether it is wind, solar, hydro, waste to energy, energy efficiency, nuclear, geothermal, or biomass-based power plant, and so on, and other side for designing and supervising 100 plus development projects, which include residential, commercial, um, airport, and then school, university, and the community, and so on. So that bring a very good examples to understand that really what we need in future to have the sustainable smart cities. Um, then we do have the country partners to get the feed. in order to understand that what are the need in those country based on the climatic requirements or based on their people's need in that particular region. So we have the country partners in the USA, UAE, Switzerland, KSA, and Qatar. Okay, so our these topics arise from the value proposition to our client that we do offer. That how to save the cost through energy, water, and waste management. So therefore, then we comes also in the smart city that how to integrate these component energy, water, and waste management within the city. Like, okay, are there the opportunity which we can utilize the city infrastructure to generate within the city also, let's say energy, for example, and also collect the water and treat it rather than right now these systems are like far away somewhere the power is generated and then it is transmitted to your city, let's say, and then we have to incur in a lot more cost in terms of the infrastructure development to source, let's say, the electricity and water. And similarly it is for the case for the waste, where like, okay, waste is generated at your premises and it goes to the landfills by traveling maybe 30, 40, 50 kilometers depending on like where the landfills are there. Wherever such things are there, and we look that can we address these problems in future by having the sustainable and smart city. When we say the sustainable cities in terms of like utilizing all these resources efficiently, by utilizing also the existing available technology, and that's where we see the gap that there are many technology which are mature enough and which are developed, but due to the bad you can say planning in the beginning, we are not able to utilize those technology. um, so therefore it's very important like, okay, to focus on the subject and then helping company to achieve net zero target, as like, okay, whole world is talking about the climate change impacts, and we see the amount of the GHG emissions which have occurred in the last 50 years. As per the research, it is equivalent to what have been the emissions for the past 6,000 years. So we can imagine like, okay, the quantum of emissions in our atmosphere. So and that's where like, okay, we work, and then efficient utilization of resource and using the latest sustainability tech for improving the operational efficiency. So that's where the IoT comes, where capturing the data and then through the various analytics, use it for the better application and operational efficiency purpose, or for the alert, or for the decision support system. And then AI automation of the sustainability KPI and removing the manual obstacles. So there are the many data points within the city, and if we are able to pick those data points and then develop the tools and software which are going to help in the decision making system and operating the cities, so that's something which is the need of in hours, and that's where we also help the city planning or our clients benchmarking the existing reporting system for better visibility. So that's like, okay, our proposition typically that mean a database for the sustainable material assessment platform. So any material or any industry which we see across the globe, at the end the purpose of the all industries and all the, you can say, material is to provide the comfort for our life, or like, okay, every material that we see around our you can say building, and so it has been manufactured in the industry somewhere, and that is being sourced to build your house or your commercial place or residentials and so on. So it is very important that we need to look that all the industries are our secondary need. These are not our primary need. Primary need of the all humans is to have the quality of life, speed of life, and comfort of life, and longevity of life. So for all those fact of the matter, we require the industry to produce the certain material, and those materials can provide all these, let's say, the four segment of our life. So now then it comes to our picture that are we producing those material in sustainable way, one, and second, are we really utilizing those materials in or around in our city in a way that these are sustainable and a smart way. That's where the topic is today. um, in terms of like, okay, this topics to cover almost everything which are required to cater the need of the sustainable smart city. We provide the all the services, whether it is the environmental and GIS monitoring, oil and gas methane and infrastructure inspection, AI and blockchain software, waste bin remote monitoring, or agri data dashboard, or health checking of the infrastructure monitoring of the telecom towers. So that's in the background. Over to Sriram to take it forward. And thanks a lot.
Sriram, please go ahead and introduce yourself and go through our slides.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for that, Satya and AJ. Greetings. I'm Sriram. I've been working closely with G3S now for nearly a decade, and I bring with me more than 20 years of experience in multiple continents and at multiple roles in establishing and taking up a lot of greenfield and brownfield projects as well. So in this particular slide, I really am trying to see how we can leverage all the sustainable smart cities and how can IoT bring that idea into the forum. It was a United Nations convention that actually brought the smart sustainable city topic into forum, and it is something that everyone needs. And let's go through the whole deck.
Sriram, I can't see the slides yet. Yeah, here you go. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, right. So the key topic for today, the reason we are here is to discuss how can IoT enable sustainable smart cities. And we will discuss what exactly are these cities. I mean, say, what is a smart city, what's a sustainable smart city, and how do IoT technologies contribute to bringing this idea into foray. Yep, we can move to the next slide. So one of the key tenets of smart city is I would like to start with the one important element, which is the smart people. Okay, and that's why we are all here, and the benefits of this is okay, fine, to be smart people. We also need smart cities, is how we put it. And so the benefits of it is okay, when you have personalized campaigns and the education, the way it would be given to individuals would be smarter. There would be enhanced tourism and entertainment. The way you would interact with one another through payments and wallets would actually get enhanced quite a lot. And one of the key point that even United Nations and a lot of people highlight is the skill prediction and allotment. I mean, this is where a lot of developing nations have issues too. As of course, needless to say, one of the biggest elements for all of us is to ensure the well-being, which is the smart living and healthcare. How do you ensure that the delivery, the identification, and the experience of going through the whole say healthcare and the disease removal process is smartly done, is through virtual health assistants and retail experience, which is augmented. We've come across a lot of platforms in which, say, the whole robotic surgery is now digitized. It is real time. You have surgeons sitting out elsewhere and doing the surgery. Optimized clinical trials, which is one of the main pain points even in the developed part of the world. It really helps in leveraging technologies for, say, the better lifestyle. I, with a finance background and economics background, one of the important transformations that we have seen in some of the foremost cities right now using technology is in the finance space, wherein individuals have actually seen the benefits, not necessarily from on a concept basis. There are multiple use cases, whether in Europe or in Asia, where the payment mechanisms have now become intuitive. The way the water and various other utilities are handled, it is now much more smarter and digitized. The whole merchandising mechanism now, the way you would interact and say make your payments, track your payments, etc. And even for small businesses, it has become now smarter. Now that obviously has helped us with the smart mobility. And we expect that this is one area where a lot of transformation is expected to happen, especially in this region of Middle East as well, where how do you plan? How will devices interact with one another? How will in fact vehicles? The concept of autonomous cars is something that is a reality now in various places. The toll mechanisms and the driverless cars and the connected public transport, you'd be surprised in living in some pockets that, hey, some of these things already exist, but having to plan for all these from scratch in greenfield city development is something that is really happening now only, and only because of the developments in technology. Now, for this to happen, the key angle is the smart infrastructure. I would like AJ to talk a bit more on this front. AJ?
Yes, I was just going to wait until your slides are done, so I'll pick that up afterwards.
Okay, so yeah, just to go back to that slide, AJ, quickly, I want to quickly run through that. Say we'll discuss more about the smart infrastructure there. With all this done, obviously we want to ensure that the environment, the air, the water, the surroundings around us are very well dealt with. When we say smart environment, it is just not about taking whatever we get from nature, making sure that whatever we get is well preserved through, say, waste management, the predictive weather monitoring, geofencing, and the traffic management angle. All these eventually would ensure something called a smart governance, which is the key thing, right? I mean, we want to have the transparency. We want to ensure that citizens are comfortable in dealing on day-to-day basis with government, and the services that they get are very well received, and that they are happier to deal with. The eventually public safety is also key, and that's why all these become a key element of smart governance. The reason we've spent a little bit on this slide is only to ensure that what is to be expected from a smart city. And now, okay, but we're talking about sustainable smart city, and enabling all these has been there in pockets. Now, if we move to the next slide, AJ, please. From a sustainability standpoint, though, there are only two additional more things. If I may seek Satya to speak a little more on this particular slide, because every smart city need not be sustainable, because we might have a lot of technology and a lot of people speaking of evolution of technologies in various smart cities. But until we have the sustainability brought into the from the fundamental level of design and the way people perceive a city and the way the eventual outcomes are monitored and measured, it's not going to be a sustainable smart city. And so the key element is the people centricity and how the whole governance would work. When we say governance, one might think that, hey, okay, fine, you have digital technologies that will provide governance, but how do you ensure that those digital technologies actually provide a transparent and a friendly and customer-centric governance, which will actually provide a path for future? Because we don't want this governance for ourselves, but want to ensure that we have everything's laid out well for our future generations. So this is actually taken from the United Nations definition of sustainable smart cities. there's a lot of emphasis across various geographies on making sure that every concept being developed is sustainable in nature.
So just wanted to add, say here, like we are talking for the sustainable and smart cities for the region behind that. If we take up for the 100 and 150 years for the urbanization, like, okay, before that, like, okay, for the century, the population were living in the rural, let's say, okay. And then that was not for the short times, actually. It was for probably for not for 1 century, but even for thousands of years. And that was the way of living for the humans, actually. Okay. And now with the kind of the comfort and kind of the speed of the life that we have developed around the infrastructure, that's like kind of rethinking that is it the best way of living for ourselves or for the human values, or is there something which we can add it up? For example, it's like, okay, if we talk, and I always take these examples that earlier the street used to be the place where the two houses, people used to come in the street and meet actually and greet, and then interaction used to happen, then kids used to grow. Versus those street has been taken by the speed of our life, that where always there are the vehicles, either two-wheeler or four-wheelers and so on, and we have been now limited to live only in the house. Like, okay, whereas the earlier those streets were for the interaction meetings and so on, like, okay, so that's where, like, okay, these questions come that, okay, do we really need now rethinking that how to design that is sustainable city is the one thing, and making it the smart where we are utilizing capturing the data for the better decision making and for probably the better economic prospectus as well, which is the important in today's life. So that's where, like, okay, the IoT comes, that can we gather all form of the data from the all data points, and then make a better planning. So now the two part is that there are the existing cities. Now they may not be the sustainable, but you can make them smart. Okay, but when we talk about the sustainable smart city, at least it is this some kind of the fundamental need that any development which happens in the future, it need to be based on that. It should not be in the hand of the some developer who will build the building and he will sell the flats and he will go away. He doesn't live actually in the building, and he shouldn't be allowed in his own way that, okay, I will build with the GFA of X, let's say, and then he will sold and he will go away and he might be living in another different place. So that's not the way that it is going to be the future. So design thinking is a very important, because the way that it is designed, that's the way that you live your life actually. Your life of interaction is going to be based on what kind of the building or society was designed by someone else. Like, okay, when someone else is designing, it should not be based on his own motive of, let's say, profit making or whatever. Like, it has to be based on the quality of life and what it gives to the families, to the people. So, okay, that's where it comes, the sustainable and smart city. That's all. Thanks.
Right.
Yes, yeah. Carry on.
Thanks for that, Satyam. Now that the foundation of a smart city and a sustainable smart city is understood, but how do we actually get it done? The key component here for any city to become smart is to ensure that we have everything, all devices, data, and all elements connected, and hence we call IoT. How does IoT, the Internet of Things, really help, right? These are different facets that one can experience because of IoT. Now, when we talk of enhanced citizen services, these are citizen engagement platforms, mobile apps that promote transparency, participation, and collaboration. You would see these happening back in the day, which were much more, say, people to people. But now, with all technology, we believe that unless the citizen engagement and the way they would experience the interactions and the way they would deal with government, we believe IoT is the key that will run the show. Public safety, in fact, in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, which are amongst some of the safest cities in the world, have a lot of say are leveraging a lot of technologies. But for us, for a lot of cities, even in the developed world, because technology is not being leveraged, public safety is still a concern now. Now, these IoT devices, including, say, something like a surveillance cameras, smart street lights, the emergency response systems, real-time monitoring, and the predictive analytics, are all the angles that can become effectively available for the local governments to ensure public safety and enhancements accordingly. Now, while yes, that is happening, how do you actually ensure that the urban planning itself be done using these smart devices? Now, one of the key angles from any analytics, any IoT is how do you consolidate and do the analytics, and these in turn allows for urban planning. How do you zone? How do you ensure that the infrastructure is planned? How do you do the traffic flows? How do you monitor the performance of various utilities and services? This will ensure that any city is able to cater to. In fact, a lot of people might have seen the recent floods, the tornadoes, and various other anomalies in weather. All through IoT and various smart devices, you can ensure that resources are optimally allocated, and the service itself is delivered in a better way, and which will ensure that, okay, fine, you don't have cities built only for 2 decades, 3 decades, but will last for centuries altogether. One of the key components, as we see in all our, say, urban city landscape, is the buildings. Maintenance and operations of these buildings, even say design of these buildings, is something which IoT will play a key role across the future, because from the scratch, when a building is even conceived and where it should be, IoT enabled buildings will have, say, automated systems. Energy utilization is very well taken care of. In fact, even for some of the greatest of the buildings, people living in the building have high energy costs, primarily because they were not planned well, and you don't have technology being leveraged to monitor and have energy efficient systems in place. This will eventually ensure that the occupants are comfortable, and the smart buildings themselves will ensure that the surroundings are pretty sustainable for the people living around. Obviously, those would have to be done just not for at a building level. All the resources that are required for happy living, some of the key are your water and energy. This is where you can actually see a complete transformation. We have multiple case studies where by using IoT, you're able to track how utilities are addressed. The smart water meters, how do you identify the leaks? How do you fix the leaks? How do you optimize the irrigation systems, especially with a lot of urban farming and various other concepts? How do you conserve water, reduce water, and improve the overall infrastructure management? That alone wouldn't be sufficient, right? I mean, hey, if I'm investing so much just on water pumping and receiving, but if it is not energy efficient, how do you make good of that? So efficient energy management is obviously the crucial angle in IoT implementation. Whether it is through smart grids, whether it is load balancing, whether it is ensuring that you have energy islands, energy distribution, battery storage, and managing peak loads. How do you integrate renewable resources with conventional, making sure that everyone has electricity and power available? While this happens on the supply side and demand side, how can individuals balance their energy consumption, lower their costs, and also ensure that their bills reduce? I mean, this actually is a key proposal for a lot of governments too, that they would cut down their energy bills for individuals. So IoT, we believe, and we have seen, can effectively transform the whole energy landscape. Now, even in this, all these all these elements that we're speaking here are very well interconnected, because with effective energy management, you would also have intelligent transportation. I highlighted here an alien tool. That's not what we're talking about intelligent here, but here we are also talking about setting up cities in Mars, etc. But here on Earth, when we talk about smart cities and intelligent transportation, it is about ensuring that you have when vehicles which are connected, how do you plan, how do you route, how do you manage the traffic, how do you ensure that the parking is easier, you have real-time transit systems which are less, less impactful on the pockets of individual commuters, reduce congestion, which is one of the key problems. A lot of people are migrating away from cities primarily because of traffic. How do you manage all that? This all is done through IoT devices. And we have seen those transformations happening in some of the upcoming Asian cities, and we believe this can stand up as a benchmark. And waste optimization is a key angle, with a lot of hazardous waste and various other forms of waste getting accumulated day in and out. In fact, there is a recent study that only 5% of plastic waste generated from United Stations gets recycled. Rest all is getting dumped. How do you ensure that all this is dealt through technology? In fact, GE3 has had an opportunity to work with the client in managing waste effectively using a lot of using IoT devices, wherein the whole waste management from an individual friend through the municipality is digitized, automated. You could track what is the waste quantity in the bin. Automated alerts to municipality, to individuals. They would have dashboard analytics to ensure that they are able to dispose waste in a sustainable manner. This obviously paves the way for us to environmental sustenance, right? Which is what we are all really concerned about when we talk about sustainable smart cities. IoT sensors, obviously, they would measure air quality, detect pollutants, monitor the environmental conditions in real time, and flag it to customers, and also provide for both effective mitigation and contingency planning. This directly would transform the public health and thereby reduce the burden on the healthcare for governments, and pave way for happy and successful future generations. All this would be possible along with e-governance, which is one of the big pain points for consumers as well as government, right? Now, when we talk about e-governance, it is about data-driven governance, wherein everything is effectively captured. There is transparency, there is belief and trust. At the same time, safety plugged in into the governance. We believe the data-driven governance would eliminate a lot of urban challenges and foster innovative ecosystems. And these are all the things that we believe become key success criteria for every sustainable smart city. Moving on to the next slide. Now that we know what would IoT bring and transform, and how it would transform smart cities, but what actually would IoT require for all this things to be done? Is if you can move to the next slide, please. These, I mean, I'll quickly summarize, are the most important elements for ensuring that IoT can actually bring all those success criteria into fruition. The first part is, okay, fine, hey, you have a lot of devices and everything, but how would they communicate? How would do they have enough network for all this vast amounts of data to go through? And that's why we would need all the 5G connect and hyper connectivity at various layers. I mean, at a city level planning, at a building level planning, at an individual home, and at your pocket. It's mobile computing and mobile connectivity through 5G and wireless mesh and various others. While that is done, hey, what would you do with all the data coming through? So you would need effective cloud computing and edge computing. While a lot of cities are planning on cloud computing and are deploying that infrastructure, but edge computing is one key element, because it would simply be not sustainable to just dump all the data onto cloud. But how do you ensure that some of the data resides at the device level or at a very local level, and only the analytics are being are sent out, only the required information is sent to the cloud, and those actually will transform the IoT implementation. Obviously, with all this data, you would have analytics, which form the key and the heart for all the delivery. And how this data analytics will play at a policy level, at a regulatory level, at an individual level, and at governance level in decision making, and how will this data be made available becomes a key component. Now, we also highlight energy management here. Is only because while you'll have a lot of data coming through, you'll have a lot of sensors. It is important to ensure that all these sensors are consuming power effectively, because that is one of the constraints right now as it exists. I'm sorry, I think the deck is not visible anymore. And hence energy management becomes one of the key elements on how do we ensure that all the sensors, etc., have the power consumption at the same time within the cost and the budgetary constraints. While this is there, the immediate question becomes, are the standards regularized or not? Are all the devices connecting within the similar standards so that it becomes easier to scale, which will become an important constraint subsequently. While this is done, security and privacy remains one of the key challenges for every IoT implementation. Extreme caution, extreme care has to be taken in implementing this. Enough guidelines, enough policing has to be there. And while these two are done, you have to have a human-centric design, which will ensure that IoT is effectively deployed. That said, we want to demonstrate some of the use cases for which I would request AJ to talk through from here.
Great, thank you so much, Sriram, and thank you for going in very much details of every single point that you have. And thanks again, Mr. Satyapal, to kind of paint the picture of where the sustainable cities would be smart cities and sustainable at the same time. So again, I'm AJ, so my background is technology, connecting things, Internet of Things. So infrastructure, IoT use cases. So first of all, what is IoT? Everybody knows this Internet of Things. What does that mean? It's simply sensors and software based solutions to help extract data collection and analyze this data to make intelligent decisions. As you've probably seen in the previous examples, we always have to crunch data to produce a result. Next slide, please. I'll go through some of the cases, so I'm focusing on just a couple of sectors, so I'm not going to bore everyone. So if you take a step back on this slide, I've put down energy management, remote security, asset management. What monitoring of generators and so forth. What are all these? How are they connected back to the internet? So a lot of this information used to come individually to show someone at the engineering level or at a decision-making level where you could see, okay, this device has 65 degrees temperature. Should we make a decision on, turning the temperature down, turning the temperature up, and so forth. So where does IoT comes in? So IoT is a non-stop connectivity using LoRaWAN, Zigbee, smart communications, 5G, 4G, and it's sensor to dashboard monitoring, which G3S has several different options now, and we're creating more and more. I put down some of the things here. You don't have to go through this. If you review this video on our YouTube channel, you can go through and familiarize yourself on the flow sensors and energy meters and so forth. So now we'll get into the sector. Next slide, please. So I picked a couple of sectors to go through. So the one that's up and coming for the past 10 years or so is the cell tower remote monitoring and how the methodology works behind it. Obviously, in the back old days, and some of the countries still do the same thing, where somebody's traveling to towers every single week, month, every quarter to get information from the tower. The batteries are here, and this is happening, and there's no bird nests on the top and all that, because tower is a heart of a telecom MNO, which is a mobile network operator, is their main core business. So what can we do with IoT to make this more simplified? We can do a lot. So tower scanning for digital twins, so you can compare different towers. You can look at the sustainability side of things, actually using satellite data, and again mapping that area where the towers are. Aerial survey, tower inspection, 3D monitoring. You have assets inspections, preventative maintenance, and all this is done now by AI and machine learning. Again, it's still in its infancy, but this is more bespoke to a customer. So we ask the customer, tell us what information is critical. So far, you get a alarm alert that there is a fire. It's, I think, too late to react at that point, other than saving the asset. So AI and machine learning can help predict what the temperature's doing, what happened to air conditioner, what happened to backup batteries, and so forth. So that's one of the examples I wanted to kind of highlight, that if you're connected via internet IoT, it could be a 5G, 4G, or any other sort of solution. Next slide, please. So kind of continuing on that, so how do we monitor it? Do you have a NOC, which is NOC, Network Operations Center, for your MNOs? Yes, they sit down, they look at individual things, but G3S has developed several different solutions, and one of them is all-in-one. So you can see all the information coming from your individual Siemens and Nokias and Huawei equipment all in one place, and then you can feed that data points into an AI ML if needed to produce intelligent results. What's going up, what's going down? Do we need to send somebody to that infrastructure to take care of it? Now, keep in mind, this all also relates to CO2 reduction. We're not driving every week thousands of towers, thousands of engineers. It also reduces costs. So you've got the OPEX cost, is in some cases CapEx involved as well. So this is just a screenshot of showing that, what G3 is capable of and what's out there in the world. Next slide, please. So another upcoming sector is oil rig. So oil rig inspection and remote monitoring, because most of these are very hard to reach, even the size and the towering structures. So I've just put down a couple of things. So this is more on the preventative maintenance side of things. So preventative is your triggered schedule maintenance, meaning we need to do that at this time, at this temperature, or this day. So that can be automated. So all this paperwork and all the going again to the rigs and trying to figure out what's happening to these assets can be managed a little bit more intelligently. Next slide, please. Again, a little bit more going in detail. So now we're looking at a predictive maintenance. So this started happening in the last 4 to 5 years, where artificial intelligence, machine learning is coming in, and it's looking at the vibration, the oil pressures, the noises, the anomalies that you have in the infrastructure. Would that produce an accident? And this is very accurately being predicted by some of the in-house made solution in some of the oil rigs, but obviously there's thousands of those around the world. So again, we have clients, without naming the oil and gas companies, that are using this, and we're growing with them to scan the rigs, to do the aerial surveys, to look at the 3D modeling, asset inspections, and so forth. Next one, please. Now, the connected infrastructure, autonomous driving, and the data collection and analysis of that. So this is, I think, by far kind of a left behind. There's a lot of talks around the world. We have a close partner we'll be working with in Texas, Autonomy Institute. They are very, very far ahead on the planning strategy and actually implementing the solutions. So what is a connected infrastructure? So right now you have a car that drives, I can name a Tesla. It has cameras, LiDARs, infrareds, whatever else, and it tries to predict by AI and ML what's around it. So that's not enough. That's why you've seen some of the accidents, and there's some things around the news around the world. If you have a connected infrastructure, I think you can reduce all those accidents. So what do I mean by connected infrastructure? So the stoplight will talk to the car, the signs are talking to the cars are talking to other cars, similar to transponders on autopilot, 2 aircrafts coming in the same height in opposite directions, in the same direction, decide on their own to move away from each other without any pilot's input. Again, talking about very similar to autonomous driving. We can collect data, we can learn from it, and we can improve. It's all harnessing the digital advances is there. So this is one of the examples of infrastructure. I just wanted to touch base on that. Next slide, please. So what are the opportunities and what are the challenges? So there's thousands of opportunities, of course, starting from ongoing global trend of urbanization. We have incentives, we have investments in infrastructure, we have machine learning, we have ecosystem, zero emissions. We have a very good case. The challenge comes in where how do we implement? Several different agencies have to work together. For example, in the US, you have a DOT, Department of Transport, and then you have the vehicle, then you have the private, and then you have the road management, and you have the state, federal, city level. So the challenges are more than the opportunities at this point. So as the challenges are reduced, we will see the opportunities come to fruition. Again, I want to touch on a couple of these challenges that I'm sure some of you might know if you're in this sector. The integration in existing systems, limited budgets, financial issues, balancing the infrastructure and environment conservation. So that's where the sustainability part comes in as well. And again, this is just to improve the traffic flow, the less accidents, and make life easier while we're saving on CO2s, trying to get net zero. How? We're not stuck in traffic. I think the Google Maps already predict some of the faster routes to go through. So you are spending less and less fuel, less CO2 in the air. So this is some of the points that I just wanted to kind of go over. Next slide, please. Right. I'll ask Mr. Satyapal to just go through some of the G3S's clients and a couple of details on those, please.
Thanks, Ajay. I think you covered very well in terms of making clear IoT and what exactly the application it is for the smart cities and for the sustainable smart cities. That okay. I'll not go much in detail because these are the kind of client that we do work related to the sustainability and overall for the IoT services. It includes from the top level government organization to designers to you can say large developers. So just I'll skip in terms of the global brand. Um, we come up with the all three layers of understanding from the policy procedures reporting and strategy one side, and another side is the engineering standards which are required to design and develop and supervise any project, to the finally in terms of IoT and software development related to the sustainability and climate tech. um, just like okay the key highlights, so since we touched upon earlier base, so this is just like okay in terms of the our companies that we come up to offer these services, and we have been kind of the long-term partners with the most of the government agencies, and that's where like okay tomorrow when we work also on the smart sustainable cities, then that give the background that we have been the reliable partner for many of the government authority because much of the data will be centralized by the any city, municipality, or governing authority related to a smart city, and that data need to be safe and secure in the hand of whoever is working. So that's our background. Thanks a lot, AJ, and yes, please for the um, next points in terms of any questions from the audience, or if you have also the certain questions in terms of the fundamental of the sustainability or smart city, floor is open.
Yes, absolutely. So I'll ask a couple of questions just for Mr. Satyapal related to smart cities, and then we can open the floor in 2 more minutes. So what do you think we need sustainable smart cities? That's a very obvious question in this one. What are your comments on that?
So in the background, I covered earlier related to like okay the city that everything's at the end for our uh, let's say our own essence of our life when we born to end, and in between is the life like okay that we experience it, and that experience need to be in the better way. And when we call it for the better way, again the points come from the quality of life or speed of life. So speed of life define the probably interacting with the more activity to experience in your life. Okay, so can we have the infrastructure which can give the speed while maintaining the quality of life and also comfort of life and also um, longevity of life, like okay which remain also the quite important. So does this infrastructure right now support that one? And if yes, it's fine. If not, then what are the planning level requirement which is right from the beginning of the development, and then later on once the development happens, then what are the data point, and that data points has to be connected through the IoT system so that you can have the better decision support system, better management of your road infrastructure, or the common infrastructure. You may have a very good car, but if the roads are not very well designed and in a way planned, you will not be able to experience the life of the car, let's say. Okay, so your life is entirely based on the all these you can say common infrastructure or common data points, and those need to be designed and developed for the better life, and that's where we need the sustainable and smart city. I hope it answers.
Very good, very good. Thank you so much. That was brilliant. And that kind of leads us to another question. I've got several different questions for you, but I think we want to open the floor, so I'll just make it a last one. What kind of new data points are required to collect in order to function the smart city? And the second part of that question would be, where does the journey start for a sustainable smart city development?
Thanks, AJ, once again. I think the first question I'll take it up. This is very important. Like, what kind of the data point are required for a smart city? I'll take one example. Let's say, um, if I just want to open a restaurant in a city. Let's say I take this example. My intention is to open the restaurant, not to select the locations like actually. So my smart cities planning has to be in such a form, the data point, that my data requirement point is that I need the area where, for example, if I'm opening any, let's say, Mediterranean restaurant, or let's say any English restaurant, or let's say Indian restaurant. So based on that, can I get those pockets where such populations are residing? One. And second, can I get in that pocket that how many restaurants are already there? And after that, filtering it out, let's say, my requirement is that I want to open an Indian restaurant, let's say. So my background system should be directly able to give it to me that these are the four locations already identified which are the most suitable. So you can choose out of these four rather than I choose it. And then I realize after a year, because many times you get proved wrong actually. And the restaurant business, for example, 95% of the restaurant get closed in the 2 years, for example. Okay. Because the people are not able to understand from those data point of view that these are the very important data point. Okay. Without having that analysis, and if you are just observing for 7 days and 30 days, and based on that, if you are taking the decision, you are actually having the economic loss of your what you are investing, let's say. Okay. So in future, all these answers should be given by the smart city hub, and this is one example. Second, let's say I want to set up, let's say, Indian schools or American school and so on. So I do not need to decide myself that I want in this location actually. My city app should be giving this answer that if you want to choose that these are the hotspot and these are the location available in my, let's say, whole urban area, you come, you choose either of this, and that's all, you go ahead. So your focus has to be on those key elements where my city is giving what you need it. So basically the smart city data point will be functioning as a business hub which is giving you the information based on what you need it, rather than you carry out the assessment and understand it and then maybe like, okay, that may work or may not work, let's say. That's what, like, okay, it is something, those data points are required in terms of income type of like the people's interest, family structures, where are the existing schools, what type of the schools are there, what kind of the restaurant also, in the which price range, let's say, and so on. Sorry, I think this is for one of them. And the other questions which uh, you ask for the in terms of the gap, if you can recall, Mr. AJ.
Yes, that was just the functionality, the new data points that's required to collect the data. So it's just, I think, a little bit more might be specific to certain sectors. So I'm happy to open the question and answer now, if that's okay. Because I'm just conscious of time. It's 1 hour.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, if that's okay. Yeah, thank you. And so everyone, thank you again for patiently listening to our webinar. We're very excited to answer your questions. Anything that you have in mind, if you'll just put that in the text like the last webinars, we'll try to answer those questions as soon as we can. Obviously, you can always send us an email and you can go to the website. So if you could just kind of push that slide to the last page where we have our email and the website address there. So yeah, I think we have one question that's coming in. Let me read that. Give me 1 second. Right. So first question is from Kriti. She's a professor of law. Thanks, Kriti, for your question. So it says, wish to know that from policy side, how to transition cities that have historically settled and populated into smart cities? Very good question, actually. There's a lot of smart city that started a little over 10 years ago, and they were not so smart when we did the analysis. So Satya, do you want to answer that question? So what about the cities who have transitioned into smart cities
So okay,
historically,
that's
how to improve. Yeah.
very good questions actually.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, okay, we were discussing earlier that there are the two type of the cities now. There are the existing, which are already populated, and probably the consideration was not given in that way because it was not given at all. Actually, it was the piece of the land which developer used to, let's say, buy it and build it the way that he wanted, not caring like okay, whether that let's say population's pressure will come on the road network and how it is going to have the traffic or what is going to be the impact in the surrounding. So that was the kind of like okay they previously thought, except the few parcel of the land which were developed with the new consideration. So in terms of the sustainable, it is the less to apply until unless there is going to the map for 2060, let's say 2070, which we know that every building which was designed and developed, which is standing tall now, will definitely going to be demolished after 30 years or 40 years. And you define already in the existing that you will not allow the GFA in the future beyond this limit, let's say, okay. So that's at least when the new development happens, you can make sure that, okay, this problem is not going to continue. What happens instead of that in today's world? That there were the 5-floor buildings which was earlier, and now it is going to demolish, and you are allowing them to build it 30 floors at that place. The city is already facing the lots of pressure, so it's not the choice which has to be given in the just simply in the hand of the developer, and maybe there's someone who is sitting in the government office where like okay he will think that okay I am allowing the large or high, you can say, GFA. So we can't make such public comments, but what goes under covers, so which we know it, let's say, but that's not the way that it has to be in the future. So it has to be the futuristic all cities plan for 2060, 2070, 2080, and that has to be the basis for the future development. That this is only the allowed in this plot, let's say this plot is only allowed for the X kind of the development. So that's good for the older city, and we don't to be precisely like okay which has been transformed right now. At least I do not come across that this is the old city which has been completely transformed and working in a very good way. But yes, the cities has been planned in a way that it is trying to at least fill the maximum point which cover from the sustainability point of view wherever it is possible. So that way all the cities where, for example, even in India, that okay 100 cities has been selected to convert into the sustainable or smart cities, like okay, so that's the try. But in parallel, when we know that new developments are happening, so at least we can make sure right from the day one that all these sustainable and smart principles are incorporated right from the idea or from the conceptualization of that society or the city.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you again for the
just
detailed
to add
answer.
just to add it
Yeah, sure.
also AJ, like because
Sure.
with the limited travels also to the different part of the world, I always appreciate like okay if you have to study the case study for a city next to the Amsterdam, which is the Utrecht, and it is ranked among the most sustainable city, and the kind of the infrastructure, kind of facility, kind of the whole system which has been developed is quite remarkable. And one of the important things that to look it also from the sustainable and smart city, you can see from the glowing of the from the people's face, like okay how they are feeling happy about that city, like okay. And that's the one live example where if you go and travel and you see that liveliness on the face of the peoples, like where they do live it, like okay the kind of the cycling system, kind of the pedestrian system, kind of like okay um, road transport, it is remarkable. So that's from the newly and existing city, but it was designed right from the beginning. Yeah.
Very, very good example. 100% agree on that because sustainability is directly pointed to humanity. So we'll have a sustainable surroundings, and we feel happy and free and not as stressed. Next question from Priya. Priya said that recently she's visited a sustainable city. Is it fully IoT-based smart city? What do you think? So I want to answer the partial part of that. So a sustainable city doesn't have to be an IoT-based smart city. IoT technology helps into the sustainability, and that's the topic of discussion. But if you want to take that, Satya, that's fine.
No, you correctly mentioned that sustainability is the one aspect, but IoT contribute to make it more efficient and utilizing the existing developed system for the better decision making. So that you are aware in advance to utilize the things. Okay, and it is connected with your simply the mobile, because that has been the life for the peoples, that everything they want to place an order, want to get the information, want to see anything, it's your mobile device. So what you want, that every information of the city to be on your let's say device, and if it is available, then probably you are able to take the better decision for your life. So so both are these two distinct things, but IoT help it to better manage and live better life. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks for adding to that. While we're waiting for other questions, I have another question, Mr. Satyapal, for you. What kind of new data points are required to collect in order to the functioning of a smart city? And that'll be more direct.
Okay, so right now, to be precisely, like, okay, in terms of your city mayor, let's say, or municipality head who manage the city infrastructure, let's say. So it need to be first digitized from all way. Let's say these are the complete digitized parcel of the land available. For example, these are the area available for solar, let's say, project development within the city. Let's say these are the roof area available to like solar system development again. Let's say, and these are the area available for the education institution to develop it, let's say. So whatever, like as in business owner point of view, someone who goes in the city and want to start the business, he should not be doing this survey. All that information which could be requirement to set up any kind of the business within the city, it should be available digitally. That okay, what you want, it is available. It's a hub. The city has to work its own hub, facilitating all questions, let's say, okay, which are required to live. Okay, so in terms of again new data point, if you see, like, okay, we do not come across with this information that okay, which are the exactly the parcel where such populations are living with the such income, let's say, or with such demography, because some of the things might be linked from the business point of view based on the demography also, and then with the age also, let's say these are the age group which are available in this pocket. So if you want to have tomorrow there's some service for old age care home, so let's say I want to do that business, so I know that okay, this is the parcel which is available where the population over 60 or 70 are here, and how many of these old age people are living without, let's say, for their kids, for examples, or so on. So so all these things has to be digitized and to make it available on your smart city platform, and that platform then work for the businesses to bring the new setup to run the whole system more effectively, and to you can say contribute to the better living of the all peoples who lives in the respective pockets.
Very nice. Thank you again. That was a very good, detailed answer. And just to kind of add to that, just like anything else, if you can't visualize it, you can't manage it, and that's good for a lot of different sectors and a lot of different areas. The finance, for example, if you don't know what your sales guys are doing and you don't have any charts and details, you can't make a decision of what sort of action to take to improve that. So, okay, tell you what, I've got, since we're still waiting for questions, either we've touched on every single topic in smart sustainable city, or I think some of the audience are shy. We're not getting questions yet. So I'll ask you another question, if that's okay, Satyapal. What gap do you see in the current development of cities? I covered a couple of points on that, what are the gaps you see, that we have or we're going to face in the future?
So, in my personal view, it is more of still the development happen in the fragmented way, not by having the master planning of 2060 or 70, by accounting the all possible changes which could also happen in future, and based on that, then from that micro level, from macro level to then micro level, and then you allow the builders in the certain plots, because at the end when development happens, it's the plot or villa, let's say, which is the mini scale level, right? Okay, and those mini scale plots and villa development takes to the little larger form of developing a colony or society, and the society then take it to the you can say city, and then city to then state, and so on. So therefore it is very important that, okay, for example, this every city has its also affordability in terms of the carrying capacity. Okay, so what we see right now at the overall city level, that mayor or the decision makers are not able to understand that this city could be for the 10 million people or for the 20 million people, let's say, and that's only the end of the city. Okay. If you have to also rehabilitate, then there has to be the another city, but that city infrastructure may not be able to carry the more, let's say, traffic. So that somehow it is the gap right now, and that I'm even not able to understand in the certain cities where already the population is so high and then traffic is so high, and when the old building is being demolished and you are allowing them even three times than the GFA of the existing one. Like on what basis? Like, okay, it is something which is out of understanding or of mind that, okay, so you are not caring for the quality of the life. What you are caring that, okay, there is a thrust of the population who just want to live in the house. So you build anything and then people will live it. So you are taking that advantage of that. You build it anything because there is a huge population and then they will buy it and then you leave it. It's their problem. Okay. So the consideration of this thought process in the city mayor or municipality head, along with the developers head, these are the two things which are required, and these are the gaps right from the conceptual or thinking point of view at the both the level. Actually, this is something which I see, like, okay, and it is not let's say probably all across the region, but largely it is in the Asiatic region, which we see where the population is high and the land base is low. So therefore, this thought process is ignored, and you just like, okay, build whatever you want to build.
Thanks again on the elaboration of the examples and the details there. So I don't see any questions coming in. It's been about an hour and almost 45 minutes. So I think we should wrap up the session. And as soon as I said that, there's a question here from Devika. Does implementation and maintenance of security of data from IoT make sustainable and expensive matter, especially for developing countries? Very good question. So is the CapEx, OpEx side of things will be a hindrance in sustainability of making a city smart? I'm assuming that's a question. Sadia can take that.
So, like, okay, first of all, I don't know, like, okay, why the people talk in terms of the cost, that cost has increased something, for example, let's say, or does it economically viable or not? So when you say certain things that we need the cheap, so what we want to define in that way, that I want something in my life without putting the extra, you can say, effort, and I should get the things at the same price. That remain the, you can say, mindset. Okay, so when we add the certain cost actually to the certain system, it always adds some kind of the job opportunity one side, and it has been added for the some kind of the comfort, and that's how, like, okay, overall system is comprised of. Okay, one is providing X service, another is providing Y service, and someone is providing something. So all collectively, then you make the city, and then city has its own cost, and which is divided to all people who lives in the city. Let's say, okay. So now coming very straight to this, does implementation and maintaining the security of data from the IoT make sustainability and expensive matter? We don't see at all. Like, okay, you pay the more cost for the sustainability. Actually, when we say sustainable smart city, assume, let's say, tomorrow we make the complete map of the way in UAE um, that these are the land area which are below this, let's say, if rainfall happens 20 mm 30 mm, then which are the area which are going to be flooded, let's say. And that may not be costing you like that much, but you are not taking into account for the simple reason that it has not happened in the past, let's say. So why we do need to make it? But if it happens, then the loss or damage is so significant that it is nothing in terms of maintaining such areas in such, let's say, the data point, let's say. Okay, so personally I don't see that it is the costly affair, and it is in fact overall as a more more, you can say, important, and also uh, the cost can be divided all across the city residents. So I don't think so that it is very costly affairs in terms of maintaining the data and maintaining such, you can say, platform.
If I may just add one point there.
100%. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. So yeah, the economic value that's generated from implementing security through IoT makes the business case much more viable than just the cost. So it is how you look at the whole implementation and the returns. It is the economic value from the trust on the systems that are implemented, which will actually make way for the success of any IoT implementation.
Good, great add-on point there, Sir Ram. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. So there's no more questions. I guess I'd like to wrap up the webinar. Very good topics covered, some good questions asked. So again, thank you so much for coming on board, Mr. Satyapal Singh and Sir Ram to do that, myself, AJ. We would like everyone to subscribe, follow, like, whatever needs to be done on our YouTube channel. LinkedIn, find us on www.ge3s.org and email us at contact@ge3s.org. Thank you so much for everyone's time. Appreciate it. And this recording will be available on our YouTube channels. Please go and like that one as well. Thanks, and take care, everyone. Have a good one. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Again, have a good day.